That's right, boys. We're going full merch today. Hope you enjoy yourselves. How's it going? Enjoy your morning? Who's doing the workouts? Awesome things on the Canadian front, by the way. Merch, I'll have a link in the description. Don't eat paint. The T-Rex Army. You gotta love this shit. Hey, if you're not having fun, why are you even here, right? Anyways, let me get some... let me get the ears in here. There's this thing called a direct monitor. You actually hear your voice a bit better. Helps you with your radio voice and setting your levels. Anyways, where is Chit Chat? Got a good one today, boys. This is going to be boring. So boring, but so important. The MGTOWs are going to be angry. They're going to run me up the flagpole. Anthony Johnson will do another hit piece. And that stupid, goofy pickup guy will sit here saying all kinds of shit. We might even get a special appearance by... I don't know, alpha males and alpha Romeos. Ooh, there's gotta be a catchy thing on that one. So let's see what we got here. If COVID is in the vid title, it triggers a CDC link. Well, that's good. Little do they know we're Canadian. Why aren't they giving me a Canadian bullshit thing here? Yeah, so 2000 late, we're into war now. Granted, yes. I agree. Huge fan of the Focusrite. Anyways. So, there's going to be a couple things here. I realized, I know we've been talking about politics, so like, hated myself for it, but it's like right here. It was like right here. But for you guys, I have something better planned. I'm like, hey, let's do some red pill stuff. And what is red pill, if not introduction? As always, set up your screen. So what is red pill, if not navigating the sexual marketplace and the positive identity for men? Well, there's nothing but navigation. Again, if you're seeing and hearing dudes talking about being red pilled and then dumping some talking points down your throats of what to feel, what to think, what to value, then you're basically following a dick. A giant dipshit. It's never about the morality. It's about the navigation. How do you fix this? Save the West. It's like, no, the West is going to do what the West is going to do. Why don't you just carve yourself out a good life? And in that sense, I have two things here I'm going to go over. One's Ontario law, one's Canadian law, but it'll give you an idea for whatever country you're in, what you can do to start navigating the sexual marketplace to achieve whatever goals you have and whatever morals you have here. Make them fit. The first one is going to be something called the Motherisk Commission. Absolutely fascinating. It turns out thousands, tens of thousands of men have been screwed over due to faulty science, lazy professionals, absolute bullying tactics done by various enforcement agencies. And then the second one is, and this is the title of the video, a judge had to file. This case is interesting because it has a mishmash of the issues MGTOW 42069 talks about in the family court system. It has issues surrounding a lot of people with COVID hesitancy, and it has a lot of issues surrounding how the law applies to fathers and mothers in general. So, like I said, it's going to be super bored, but we'll get to that. On a note here, let's start with some banter. So on a side note, the MGTOW are saying, see, World War III mini is happening and feminists are hiding and only sending prayers. Dude, look, I don't really care about the Ukraine. I really don't. I didn't care about Crimea. I didn't care about the Ukraine. I'm not saying it's not a horrible situation, but a couple things, and I'm not surprised that people haven't caught these lessons because it just happened, but I'm disappointed. Case in point, you guys have probably been watching, until 15 minutes ago, the Canadian truck convoy, right? And you were seeing, like, TikTok had guys on the ground, like, here's what's happening, and here's what's going on, and here's the cops right there. And then you go and you watch CTV or CBC or MSNBC or Fox or whatever, and you see them, like, laying their narratives on thick. And then the one thing you learned is it's so disconnected between corporate media and, like, on-the-ground media. And it was amazing. Amazing. The only violence there was this horse stomping on an old lady. But then you watch the news, it's like somebody threw a bicycle at the horse. And they're getting charged. And you're like, the lady's like, she's got internal bleeding. She moved off to Florida. And it's amazing how separate these narratives are. Now, knowing that, and then the first thing you see is corporate news telling you about the Ukraine. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but everything you've heard on the news about the situation in Ukraine, how bad it is, how good it is, whatever, absolutely made up. Not even a shred of truth. In fact, I'd almost argue the opposite of the truth. And that's the problem, because everybody, and here's the other piece here, a little media. You know, instead of calling this the introduction, I should call it like your media manipulation minute. Media manipulation minute. Doing the timestamps, so at least when you guys are watching this, you can get something from it. Everybody has a vested interest in the narrative, either positive or negative. So case in point, you got mainstream media types talking about Ukraine good, Russia bad, we got to do what we can, you know, close their bank accounts, break their trucks, bring in the horses, basically the same thing they were doing to truckers last week. And then you have the other side of things, the underdog, the conservative types who are like, go Russia, Russia's awesome, they're, you know, protecting their women and all this other crap or whatever. NATO's problem. And then you realize that, I don't know who set this narrative first, most likely the pro-Ukraine people, right? And the entire opposing side has essentially been told what to think. Here's the narrative, think the counterpoint to that. And then the issue with that is that then validates the narrative. And if you want to bring this back to sexual strategy, here's the thing. This is why holding frame is important, because you get the wife, and what's this? Rollo always says it, where he's like, women run by instinct, emotion, reason, and then men are instinct, reason, emotion. Not entirely true, but whatever. Moon's made out of cheese. I get it. So wife sees you just sitting there minding your own business. Maybe you have like a bit of a resting bitch face. Hey, why are you angry? What are you talking about? I'm not angry. Well, why are you angry? You can tell me. I'm not angry. Why are you angry? And after the 15th time asking why you're angry, it's starting to piss you off. And you're like, now I'm angry. That's the same thing applied nationwide, internationally, across social media and that. You weren't angry. You were sitting there thinking about nothing. Your brain was off. You're in shutdown mode. You're sleeping. All you picture is that grass field from the Windows XP background. But the girl started a narrative. You're angry. You need to tell me why. And you deny it. But then by denying it, you make it real. I'm not angry. Well, he's hiding something from me. That's exactly why he say he's not angry. Isn't it funny too? It's like what you're actually saying doesn't register. I see a thing there, DL. Comment on that in a sec. And so eventually what happens is now the narrative becomes, why are you angry and hiding this from me, versus I'm not angry, but you're pissing me off. Come out of nowhere, completely manufactured. Same thing here. And you're like, well, what do you do about that? Well, I'm here to tell you, I have a plan. I have a plan. I have a system. Turns out it's been around for years. It's not even me that invented it. It's like Athol Kay. It's Ian Ironwood. It's Robert Glover. It's Manuel Smith. It's Rollo Tomasi. It's even Roosh V pre-religion. It is a green amplify, amused mastery, irreverence, essentially. Irreverence and the various psychological techniques that go with it. Girl asks you why you're angry. You're not angry, but you know where this goes. You're like, I'm fucking pissed. Why are you pissed? Oh, my girl keeps asking me if I'm angry and I'm about to body slam her through the drywall. It's completely like you're agreeing with her and you've amplified it to ridiculous proportions. Obviously, you're not going to put your girl through drywall. And if you are going to put your girl through drywall, please stop listening to this podcast, because I can't trust you not to get me in trouble when you do something stupid like pull an Alec Minasan or Elliot Rodger or Jack Murphy and then say, well, I was a big fan of this guy's show, so there you go. And I'm like, I did not tell you to run over a school bus full of chicks. So don't blame me for your nonsense. So you agree and amplify. And what it does is the subtext of it is it sets across the narrative. You're being ridiculous, but not in an adversarial way. And the reason that's important is because picture this. Somebody's freaking out and you tell them to calm down. I'm sure all of you guys have had this at some point. In the history of ever, when has anybody ever calmed down when you told them to calm down? Probably never. -1, never. So what you do instead is you infer they need to calm down by exposing the lunacy of their arguments or their conversations. And then they come to the conclusion on their own. Well, he's just going off the deep end. Maybe I'm crazy. And then they'll calm the fuck down. Unfortunately, you can't do that because media doesn't care. They're like, going to keep pumping it through, and there's enough idiots that'll buy their shit that you're totally going to get into it. So, in a fitting bit of merch plugging right now, don't eat paint, fellas. Don't eat paint. So I'll end off the little introduction piece here with YUD. Yep, I've heard a ton of stupid questions from Westerners, but I totally agree with your media that smashing Russia is great due to my vested Ukrainian interest. That is why narratives take off, because everybody has a vested interest in it. I don't know who thinks it's a lie. I don't know who thinks it's true. And I don't know who doesn't care. I would argue most people just don't care. If I write a story, like my boss is like, hey, you will write a bunch of stories about Russia as an asshole, and Ukraine is the poor widowed wife, and she needs half the house, and she needs child support. I'll do that because then I get a chance of getting promoted in his office. Now, some people, it's hard. They're like, oh, I hate this. I hate having to lie all the time about media, and it's always a drain on me. You get stressed out. You take stress leave. You eventually leave the job. You're kind of gone. There's the other guy, though, is like, no, makes total sense. Starts believing it, eats his own narratives. Oh, geez, Russia's doing this. That's horrible. It turns out we're actively encouraging deluded people, easily manipulated, gullible, delusional people, and they're getting promoted ahead of everybody because it's so much easier to ramble on about bullshit when you're very easy to convince that the bullshit is real. I think, and this is going to be weird because I know there's a bunch of you guys in the audience here who are conservative, but it's like a Noam Chomsky manufacturing consent thing. You at the top ends of what you see in the media funnel, you do not even have to convince people because you've already self-selected for the people who will convince themselves. It's just like hypergamy. Remember that thing? We talked about it years ago. It was back when Rolo was wearing that San Francisco 49ers hat, and I don't know football too much. A lot of my chat just talks about the Cleveland Browns, right? And I'm like, yeah, so I bet you anything, your wife's probably a fan of the 49ers. He goes, oh, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, see, guys, that's the point of hypergamy. Girl is fiercely loyal to one man at a time. And if it's not you, it's somebody else. Or it's waiting for that special guy. Sometimes it's the unicorn in her head of the Chad that doesn't exist. Sometimes it's the alpha widow thing of the guy that got away. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes, and I know this is very non-White Claw red pill, sometimes you're a girl's hypergamous best option, and she treats you great. Welcome to the sexual marketplace if you got your shit together, and you have some good boundaries. Welcome. It's good to see you. Cheers. Oh yeah, I have to make the effort to switch this from top chat to live chat, because I miss so much of your guys' lovely, lovely stuff. Replace the map in the background with a don't eat paint pic. It's not a bad idea. Because, I mean, I've been telling you guys for like a year now that I was eventually going to put all the countries I've been to on it. Still haven't done it. Still haven't done it. Dude, I bought bright colored lights the other. So much fun. Aren't they, though? I like it. It gives an aesthetic to this thing. Like, we're in... And to be fair, there's like the reason for this, and you guys may not even know this, and I know this is off topic, but... I just liked it as like a cyberpunk synthwave aesthetic because we are basically in cyberpunk right now. High tech, low life. Case in point, me talking about media manipulation and essentially being Nostradamus over a war halfway across the world without knowing anything about it, just by trusting that people are so ass backwards on it. Right, how are the Jets doing this year? Playoffs starting, am I right? Oh yeah, I can't wait for the Super Cup. The Grey Cup is going to be awesome. The Argonauts are fading the Argonauts, or the Argonauts versus the Rough Riders. Which Rough Riders? I don't know. But it's the good ones. Actually, I think we finally did change the name. If you guys don't know, Canada has like 2 or 3 teams named the Rough Riders. There was the Ottawa Rough Riders, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, and I don't know what the other ones were. Yeah. But the Grey Cup's kind of fun. Girl and I watched a live game. Couldn't do it, though, because she's like, my ADHD is just going nuts because they have dudes with flags running back and forth. They got the football game. Then they have drums playing over here and then cheerleaders going over here. She's like, I get it. They're trying to spruce up the game by giving you little things to look at. But like at this point, I'm just kind of like spacing out because there's just too much stimulation. So we're like, all right, let's go back to basketball or hockey. Oh, I don't know. Anyways, but the point was, like, if you're a 49ers fan, if a girl's into you, she's going to be a 49ers fan. And it's not that she's like, oh, he likes the 49ers, so I'll like the 49ers. They actually believe it, in the same way that I was just telling you guys about the media guys at the top of the chain, how they just believe the narratives. They're gullible. They buy into it. It's almost like the parallel is just obvious. Hypergamous best option. This is my good man. This is the good guy. The girls that eventually make it to your long-term relationship, you have filtered them throughout your life for the kind of girl who buys into the life you're living. And I think this is why you get a lot of pushback from really ornery, spinstery, I can't get no man, female dating strategy types, because I think they treat it as if it's a loss of autonomy. Like, I don't want to have to lose myself in a guy. I don't want to lose who I am. I'm, the strong independent meme. It's kind of that. And it's like a legit fear. I think it's ridiculous, but whatever. They think it's legit, so whatever. And then you always hear their Batman origin stories. It's always the same thing. Dad and mom, or mom stayed at home taking care of us. Dad treated her and worshipped her like a princess, but he gave her an allowance. And I would never want to be demeaned so much as to have a man who loves me unconditionally giving me an allowance. I'm going to do the other thing, and I'm going to be an absolute prick, so no man will ever love and adore me. And for some reason, that makes sense. You can blame feminism. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to destroy Canada. They've had it too good for too long. Oh, hush you. Damn you, Apex. Oh, no, wait a minute. That's not Apex. Is that the fake Apex, or is that you, Paul? I can't even tell. Can't even tell anymore. I can never tell if it's chucking shit or quit while you're ahead. So we're going to go back to okay, we did media manipulation. Let's get off of this now. 17. What's this called? Motherisk Commission. The hell's he talking about with the Motherisk Commission? Well, I'm going to show you. This is the Motherisk Commission. I'm going to put a link in the chat. You guys are more than welcome to follow along on your own if you want to. Rough Riders, what the Canadians going to raw. It's a cowboy reference. I don't fucking know. So here it is. Motherisk Commission. What is the Motherisk Commission? Well, to sum it up, it ended up being a... Alright, get back to the main thing here before I start on this. I always hate this about official documentation. Right, acronyms, blah, blah, blah. It turns out for a lot of divorces, oh, there's an executive summary. We'll come to that in a second. For a lot of divorces, people were accusing the other party of drug abuse, drug and alcohol abuse. So this hospital, what is it? The Motherisk Laboratory at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto, tested tons of people. Was it 24,000? And then used that for child custody hearings. Oh, this person said they're no longer on drugs, but tests came back conclusive. They're still on the coke, so take their kids away. Turns out that they did a little bit of a review on them. I think, what did they say? During our 2-year mandate, we reviewed. So they didn't review a lot. Out of the 24,000 cases they had, there was 1,271 cases where they tested. And it turns out the methods were absolute garbage. And they get into we're going to get into the details in this, but so what's the takeaway from you? That trust the science? Science is fallible. Science is not a trust thing. Science is about not trust. And not only was it bad, not only was the science bunk, not only did it leave a huge issue now where they're having to run all these cases through the court system, a lot of lives are irreparably damaged. A lot of kids who lost trust for their parents because they're like, the drug test came in, Mom. You said you were quitting coke for me. And she's like, I did. My hair's doing the coke, not me. Turns out none of it was true. Now all these people have to rebuild their friendships and the families. A lot of people are going back to court. A lot of money is gone. A lot of money is wasted. And this is what the MGTOWs and MRA types like to say. It's like, oh, the court is skewed against men. It's not skewed against men. It's skewed against competency. And I don't know if this is a recent thing or if it's always been like this and now we're just seeing it. But snapshot today, this is what you see. So here's the executive summary. Between 05 and 15, the Motherisk Laboratory at the hospital tested 24,000 hair samples for drugs and alcohol from over 16,000 individuals. all for child protection purposes. The Honorable Susan Lang's independent review in 2015 found that the testing was inadequate and unreliable for use in child protection and criminal proceedings, and that use of this evidence had serious implications for the fairness of those proceedings. We're going to jump back to that point there later on. The fairness. All of a sudden, they're worried about the fairness of the family court system. That's weird. Didn't you guys have a bunch of Rule Zero episodes where you're talking about the courts aren't fair against men? I want you guys to ask yourselves this. This is a rhetorical question. Mull it over. Talk about it in the chat if you want to. Why is it that the fairness of the family court proceedings have become an issue now? 2015. Ask yourself. Put a pin in that. We'll get back to it. So in response to the Justice's report, the Ontario government asked her to establish a review center to assist people whose lives have been affected. And this is where we're going to get into a lot of like the what on the ground, what happened here. It's not that the test was unreliable. What were the consequences of bad science? Hair holds drugs longer than blood due to the fact the body can clear it quickly while the hair doesn't have a clearing process. Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm just going to take the science at face value. We can talk about the details of it for sure. And the rest is like blabbing about her role as commission, reliance on this. Here's the part that I like. So reliance on hair testing and child protection work and legal proceedings, which went on for 20 plus years, an entire generation. Everybody in this chat with divorced parents, I mean, Ontario, but I'm sure across North America, there's going to be this exact situation or similar ones to it anyway, because there's 100 different ways to check for this stuff. But 20 years, an entire generation of people who are now between the ages of like 25 and 45. So this is like the main drivers of the economy right now. The testing was imposed on people who are among the poorest and most vulnerable, with scant regard for due process or their rights to privacy or body integrity. Many people experienced the testing, particularly when it was done repeatedly, as intrusive and stigmatizing. Does this language sound familiar to you? Does it? Does it sound familiar to you? Does this not sound like the same arguments that this same government, this exact same government, because if I'm not mistaken, oh no, Dougie got in like 2018. This was like Catherine Wynne, the Liberal Party. Does this not sound the exact thing that was like unacceptable views, not but like a month ago? Something to think about. So I'm going to scroll down. Actually, I don't remember how far down I had to go for this, but and it's Canada, so a lot of this was about Indigenous communities and blah, blah, blah. There we go. So reviewing cases and offering services. The Commission renewed the individual child protection cases involving Motherisk testing occurring between 1990 and 2015. Our aim was to determine whether the testing had substantial impact on the court decisions. So if so, it was possible the child, parent, or other caregiver might have a legal remedy. That's the other thing. That's great. You find out we fucked up. That's wonderful. What can I do about it? And I'll spare you the anticipation. Not much. My bad. Call a mulligan on that one. Oh, sure. Could you please talk to my child now who's 35 and thinks I'm an asshole? That'd be nice. So they break down the phases. Phase 1 is high priority cases where the final decision was made by these tests and cases where the adoption orders had made, mother testing was a factor. So was it the reason that people lost custody? Fathers, mothers, whatever. Or was it just a factor? So there's two phases there. Here's the awesome part. And by awesome, I mean absolutely horrifically tragic. Of the 20 or 1,200 cases, they found that the test results had a substantial impact on the outcome of 56 of them. In a large majority, there was other evidence, domestic violence, mental health, neglect of children to support the court decisions. Behind every one of the 56 cases, though, families were broken apart, and the relationship among children, siblings, parents, and extended families and communities were damaged or lost. So this isn't saying that only, 56, 12, let me do a calculator here. Let's do some basic quick math. 1271 divided by 56. Oops. It's the other way around. %. 4.5%. Say 5%. Let's round it up. Let's be hyperbolic. 5%. So this isn't just the case of 56 people were screwed over by this. This is a case of, in that small sample size, about 5% of people were basically fucked. Now, if you take that for the, how much was it? 24,000. So 24,000 times 0.05. 1,200 people. All this crap about, like, if you want to talk about panicking scenarios, the trucker convoy. It was over about 1,200 trucks. The people that got screwed over by the government there, accounts frozen, their rights disenfranchised. 200 people. 200 people with the government seized their funding. So we panicked over 200 people and 1,200 people, or 1,000 people in the past. This is already 1,200. And that's not even people that were infringed upon. That's people that were seriously infringed upon. Like, that level of amplification. Kind of crazy, isn't it? So yeah, here, we got you a lawyer. Good luck, sir. Counseling. So where's the part here? So here's some key observations from it, right? Do they use at a higher rate and just get caught at a higher rate? Did people sue, or was any recourse or compensation done? I haven't been able to find anything yet. I have a feeling that for a lot of these people, just having access to their kids was good enough, but I'm not good enough at like legal forensics to be able to find all the people that did court cases from this. I'm hoping in the future to kind of like do a follow-up on this as I find more. But again, just some dude in his den talking on YouTube. So at best efforts. But yeah, so here's the key things of observations. The testing was imposed without due regard for process, rights to property, integrity, and that. I'm sure you guys have heard this all the time, where guys were talking about the divorces, how child protective services in favor of the best interest of the child, basically stepping all over people. It's like, you have no right to privacy. Did you sleep with her? Did you do this? Did you do that? And you're like, you're not allowed to ask me that as a government thing. But they're like, yeah, but if we don't, and you don't answer it, we're just going to take your kids. So it's literally threatening people. Very bullying. The courts often drew negative inferences about parents who did not go get testing or disputed the results. Yeah, the courts basically, like, and for a lot of people, it was like after the 6th or 7th negative test, they can tell they were just like, keep testing until one of them pops up positive. And so some parents were just like, you know what? Stop it. Like, how many of these do I have to take here? You guys have been doing it so much. You're basically just weaponizing it, trying to hammer me down until I'm eventually beaten down. And then the courts are like, oh, he didn't want to take a test. All right, fuck his kids. The courts often used hair test results as a proxy for assessing parenting. And this one, just the laziness of it, you know? Basically, because Child Protective Services was too fucking lazy to do their job. They're like, just get the hair test. What's it show up with? Option? All right, fuck that dad. Fuck him. Laziness. Everybody's like, oh, the Nazis are coming, and oh, the libertarian is dead, and authoritarian, and they're going to jackboot. A lot of people think it's like a bunch of evil Machiavellian masterminds. In this case, just some lazy Karens. And let's face it, when it's Child Protective Services, who's most likely to go in that profession? 40-year-old spinsters who have a bone to pick with every dude that reminds them of their asshole ex-husband. Lazy, embittered, angry women screwing people over. The use of testing generally reflected a narrow approach to substance use focused on abstinence. Yeah, it's... Again, I don't have a strong opinion on this one. I don't know the cases made for it. I'm generally a fan of, like, safe injection centers, because it's like, they're going to do heroin, whatever, so you might as well at least do it here so they don't have an AIDS epidemic and you don't have needles in playgrounds. I'm one of those people that make one of those very pragmatic approaches to it. But I mean, when it comes to sex, the focus on abstinence doesn't affect teen pregnancies at all, so I have no reason to think it's not the case here. I guess the easy example is like having one drink on the weekend is different than being a drunk. I saw a lot of functional alcoholics in the military, so I guess. But whatever. That's just speculation on my part. And then the tests were admitted into evidence without the usual checks and balances of the legal system and given exercise by weight by the CAS and the court. That one there too. I'm sure you guys have heard this meme constantly where family court doesn't have the same checks and balances that like court has. So they're running all kinds of shit. It's like, oh no, this is true. Just trust me. Trust me. This guy's an asshole. Take his kids. Crazy, isn't it? But here's the thing, and it gets me on this because everybody's kind of known this for a while. There's that Divorce Incorporated documentary on Netflix. Rollo, I guarantee, has had 3 episodes on this. Talked for like 6 hours on the subject. And it's always in the abstract. Fathers are taken from courts. There's always bias in the family courts. Everybody says this. But right here, not only are you seeing it, like, you can touch it. It's right there. It's specific. It's measured. They have numbers attached to it. And you don't see a lot of these things. And I think a lot of it is... Oh, and it was a government agency. So when you're seeing shit like this, you got to realize, like, it took 20 years. 20 years for somebody to get off their ass and go, hey, this system's fucked. And then after that, it took another 2 years for somebody to see how fucked it was. And then it took another 6 years, and nobody's learned a lesson from it. So is there anyone... That's too nihilistic. Like, dudes. You're sitting here getting mad at red pill guys because they're like, shit's not going to change. Fucking carve out your own path. Let them burn. Stop trying to save the West. And that's right here. This is exactly the reason. Imagine that. You want to have a family someday. You want to have a wife. Maybe you want kids. Maybe you just want to be a dink, dual income, no kids, or dildos, dual income, little dogs only, whatever one you want, whatever lifestyle choice you've picked. Maybe you want to shove things up your ass on Chatterbait and then go on Tim Pool. Not my place to judge. Maybe you want to yell at chicks that have OnlyFans accounts and then kick them off your show and then ask for a blowjob for clout. Maybe you want to do all that. It's not my place to judge. You do what you want. But if you're sitting here hoping and praying that the world gives you fairness and equality and justice will prevail, 26 years. 26 years. And these people finally got something. Are you guys willing to wait 26 years for the system to say, yeah, you're right, the whammy did you wrong? I'm not. I got shit to do. I hope you got shit to do. If you have nothing to do for 26 years, I got nothing for you, man. Nothing for you. Just regular soap and water. Anything that's not high in lye. Dishwasher soap's always good there for JD. Ryan, how big was the Rock? Rock's like 6'5", isn't he? Oh, 6'2". Why you guys got these random stupid questions? You always get the clout BG up front, which is weird. Especially in, like, I don't know. I guess this is totally off topic, but it's like if you have to ask for blowjobs and pay in clout, it's like, come on, man. A little bit of game will never kill you. That's the whole point of game, is to not have to trade, like, bananas for monkey sex, right? That's an Evo psych joke, not a racism joke, just in case. Don't ban me, please. And so they did a thing about the restorative process. And again, this is such like a chick thing to do. We organized the restorative process in 4 stages. We interviewed people about how it affected them and their families. How did you feel? We met with groups and communities affected by this. Indigenous communities, youth and advocates, African Canadian communities, biological and adopted parents. We talked to the people that were surrounding these two, like, fucked over parents. And we asked, how do you guys feel about it? And then 3, they had multi-sector meetings organized by topics related to testing, legislation. We talked to the legislators. We're like, how do you guys feel about this? And then 4th, they held a symposium, which brought people all together. Now, everybody together. How do you feel about this? So yeah, the end result of all this, you're fucked. You've been fucked for an entire generation. How do you feel about this? All right, guys, wrap it up. Let's get out of here. We saved the day. We figured out how everybody feels about this. We had a good cry. Bob with his bitch tits let us sleep in there and cry on it. It's okay, Cornelius. You can cry now. I'm like, fuck that. I was not put on this earth to be MRA 42069. Bitch about how hard guys have it. Meanwhile, my kid hates me. Fuck that. Navigate through it. And we'll get to like the solutions to this at the end, right? So ensuring the reliability of expert evidence. Actually, this one's kind of funny. There's a section in here a little later on. See if I can find it. We'll skip this stuff. It's kind of like off topic for where I'm trying to go with this, but Yeah, promote education, collaboration, some other feel-good measures, implementing them. All right. If I don't find it right away, I'll let you know what the summary of it was, because that I remember. It stuck right out to me too. There we go. The judgment motion. So this is the idea, and this is something that's like, again, it's 20 years too late, but hey, you got there. Only permit evidence that would be admissible at trial. Basically, increase the standard of evidence for family court, which has been a huge problem, because you can just throw a bunch of shit at the wall and see what sticks, and there's no evidence based on it at all, right? Absolutely crazy. Anyways, there's a whole bunch in this. I'd probably do a thing with Chesty on it later. Oh, speaking of which, Chesty, I think coming on next week, and the week after that we got Nick August. So we're gonna do we're doing guests again. It should be fun. So more of the legislative issues here. This is all like nuts and bolts, but just realize like they're at least making recommendations. And it's funny because the recommendations all boil down to, let's treat this with the same standard and quality that we do for anything else. Basically, hey, let's try this law thing we've been doing for 3,000 years. Worked well so far in murders and stuff. Maybe it'll work so well in the best interest of the child. You know, that shit we're supposed to care about? All right. So again, they do more about child custody. Where in the hell was it? You know, maybe we'll do a search for it. How was the wording of it? I think it was wording negative. There it is. Here's what I was looking for. So the number of tests and reports from labs other than Motherisk in the files did not include non-hair samples. This is the... Remember when I asked you at the beginning? Put that in the back of your head. Why all of a sudden are they talking about fairness and consistency in the court system and the family court all of a sudden? Do you remember that? Well, here's the thing. They broke down the numbers. Mostly affects mom. That's why they gave a shit. They didn't give a shit about this for 20 years. Then all of a sudden somebody pointed out, hey, some moms are losing access to their kids. We're like, oh, fuck, well, let's do a commission. All of this still boils down to society prefers women over men. Men prefer women over men, and women prefer women over men. Silver Bishop, 10 euro super chat, sir. Finally back at the DJ job yesterday. Good news to switched on guys. If you have an ounce of game, you can approach a chick without being drunk and talk like an adult, and fit if you're in the top 5%. You know what? That's like the wisest super chat I've ever gotten. That's the meme. The $5 super chat ruins lives, ruins careers. The 10 euro super chat, full of wisdom. I don't know what it is between $5 and 10 euros, but kudos to you, sir. Having said it, it's weird. You notice this? The fuck is grandma and grandpa? Hey, granddad, grandpa, get off of the drugs, dude. All right. I guess you know what? It should be, for the efforts of being fair here, I should make this point too for the reasons for testing, where there's like they have suspicions already. So there's two things you can infer from that. One, it's similar to, do you know the thing where they like 1 out of every 3 fathers or whatever is not the biological father of their kid? Or what's the anybody here on MGTOW shit? What's that vampire guy with the anime thing? What's the stat that they're throwing out nowadays with the how many fathers aren't the biological father? I've heard it started at like 3%, now it's up to like 30%. It's probably going to be a point where like 100% of fathers aren't the father anymore, and that's going to be your MGTOW thing. But I'll bring up the reason that study's kind of, 1 in 10. So that was the issue. They were like, it got up to about a third, and everybody's like 30%, up to 30% of the fathers aren't the father of their children. You're like, oh my God. You mean to tell me if I got 3 friends, one of us is cucked? That's horrible. I better give this MGTOW guy some sex doll money. No. Turns out when you go and you look at the research that they got it from, it was in cases where parents had a suspicion that they weren't the father of their kids, they were right about a third of the time. So that ends up being a much different point. A third of you are cucked. Panic. The World War III. Cuck apocalypse. And hey, if you're thinking your wife's probably sleeping around on you, you're about 30% chance of being right. Two different claims. One, measured, reasonable, something you can do something about. Two, panicky, hyperbolic, and it has nothing to do other than to get you angry and scared and swear off women. You know what? Fuck this. I'm not talking to bitches if one out of every third of them's gonna fuck me. But not fuck me, but they're gonna fuck me. I'm gonna give MGTOW 42069. Give me one of them sex dolls. Let's buy one of those. Let's buy a fleshlight and a hentai pillow. Fuck that. I'm out of here. And you're like, I mean, first off, I kind of doubt that just because some idiot was rambling off stats on you, but you get a guy who's already in the same way that the media had the thing where once you get to those top echelons of like media savviness, you're the gullible one. You will buy the narratives they give you and you'll report on it because that's how you get up that high. You have to be invested in it. See all the parallels though? This is what I love when you start learning about red pill, how it kind of affects other things and branches out elsewhere, which is good and bad. It's good in that, okay, skills I've learned here to deal with my wife when she's going crazy are also my skills here to deal with media manipulation, which deals with the skills here as understanding the family court law thing. You're like, oh, that's great. Does that mean that red pill is about, fighting for family courts? No. Does that mean it's about the media narratives? No. But skills are skills. Applicable everywhere. Thank God. Welcome to the human condition. Hope you enjoy yourself. Don't eat paint. MGTOW 42070 here. Look at you. One up. So I will suggest this, and I know it's like, oh, it's weird. Aren't you guys red pill? Aren't you supposed to be all for this stuff? I'm like, yeah. Here's the thing. Everybody's talking about red pill truth, red pill philosophy, and just to start seeing the matrix for the code. I'm like, the first step to that is not bullshitting yourself with the entirely opposite narrative. Just because Ukraine's not the good guy doesn't mean Russia is the good guy. Or yeah, Ukraine is the good guy or the bad guy. Russia, you get what I'm saying. I don't just take the opposite position of people I don't like. I take the position that benefits me. And in this case, a realistic opinion is really going to benefit me. So now where is... I think it was above it, actually. Oh, that's the other thing. So a lot of people, and this is tying to like a purple pill debate thing. There was a weird undercurrent of like low-key racism among the purple pill debate subreddit, mostly the women. And you've also noticed it if you ever go to the female dating strategy subreddit. And if you're a man or a happy girl, I don't know why you would, but if you have that cathartic need to fucking hate humanity, head in there, go take a look, see what you got to do. And they get low-key racist all the time. And so that was like the first thought on this one. A lot of people are like, oh, well, this is just because they're affecting natives or black people or whatever, right? And there was always the case in above, like, yeah, we got to make sure this doesn't affect native communities, that like benevolent racism. But if you look at it, of the cases that were reviewed, only 14% involved indigenous families. So yeah, if you're some poor native living on a reserve, it sucks. 14%, it's well out of proportion. It's like higher percentages. So it does screw those over more. But that also means that 80% of these cases are Joe Blow, average guy who just lives on his own, middle class or whatever, right? So you can't just say, oh, that's just a problem with the poors. That's a problem with everybody. The poors have it worse, but everybody's got it bad, so whatever. Could these guys have requested DNA tests at the birth of the child or needed mom approval? Oh, do you guys want to get into that one? So technically, yes and no, and you're not allowed to ask. There was I can't remember what the society was called, like the Canadian Doctors Medical Society or something like that. What they like the AMA, but for Canada, decided that paternity testing was seen as a body autonomy issue for women, in the same way that you don't have to tell people your vaccinated status. And so if during the case of normal testing, they had an ethical issue, well, what happens if we're doing blood tests and we find out the dad's not the dad? Are we obliged to tell dad? And they did some, justification or like, no, you're not supposed to tell dad at all. Unless this test is specifically to find out whether the custody is his, no, because that would break up families if we find out dad got fucked over by mom. So yeah, you could request that, but anyways, we're getting off topic here. I want to get back to the number one. Same in France. But at the same time, again, you kind of have your way around it. If you suspect, you have a 1 in 3 chance of being right. More often than not, you kind of know. Like, I have a feeling most guys who get cucked like this, there's very few that got, like, hoodwinked. Most of the time, they have a suspicion, but their ego prevents them from seeing it. But again, 21andMe, go get your own test. That's the beauty of it, too. You don't need an official test to get divorced. You need an official test so that you're not obliged to pay child support. And even then, who knows? So yeah, just go do 21andMe. Hey, son, do you want to find out what our heritage is? Test the both of you. Oh, that's weird. It says I have a 0.0% chance of being of being Asian because I'm Scottish and you're Chinese. This is weird. So this is a neat one. So it's like some big points here. In the files we reviewed, the children who were tested were often tested after they were apprehended without parental consent or judicial authority. In a few cases, newborns had hair were tested. In many cases, there was no information in the file to suggest that the parents were advised that their children were being tested to determine if they had been exposed to drugs. Imagine that. Government's just taking your kids, testing them. Dude, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. And they didn't even know. That's the worst part. They didn't tell them. So I have a feeling it's really, like, I'm sure the people that were doing, like, we're doing this for the sake of the child. Here, give her, what's that heart condition everybody gets now? Hypochondria or whatever? Or myocarditis? Yeah, the kids are getting that, but we're doing it for the kids' safety. So I don't know. I'm not talking about COVID specifically, but I'm just saying the best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. Take from that what you will. Many of the parents and others in the cases were reviewed and tested multiple times. In one case, we counted more than 20 hair tests on the family members involved in a single case. 20 tests. 20. What did you think you were going to find after 19? And you got to wonder there, like, why would they do that 20 times? The only answer I can come up with is somebody maliciously using the system to attack a person, whether it's an estranged wife, whether it's like asshole cops, whether it's a judge who's like ego invested in this. And I've seen examples. We actually had a guy in the Married Red Pill, good friend of mine. We still talk. The judge in his case was so biased towards his wife and fucking him over that they had to get an official reprimand. Now, if you guys don't know in legal jargon, actually, you know what? I'll use the military example because I know that. So if an officer gets an official reprimand, your career is stunted. Whatever rank you are now, that's as far as you go. You will never get promoted, ever. Basically, you're done. So that's that way of saying, like, yeah, it's like this close to being fired. This close. I'm not sure, but it's a huge deal because for a lot of these guys, they spend 30 years building a career they can be proud of. Imagine losing all that. Sucks, man. I'm guessing also the government was making a lot of money through this messed up system. Then the broken family benefits the government in terms of payments, field report taxes, child support. I have no doubt. Like, if nobody was making money, this wouldn't have been a thing. But again, that's kind of one of those, like, the people who made the most money were the ones that believed in the system the most. It's kind of geared that way. Because if somebody was skeptical about this, like, I'm not going to pay for all these tests. They don't work. Well, they're not getting a contract. Now, where's the other one I wanted to do? There was one in here about the judge. Collecting hair samples, implications, affidavits. Oh, that one's neat. I didn't even notice this before. Like, there are apparent anomalies in the test results that some of the cases reviewed. To give you examples, newborn's hair sample revealed high quantities of the drug metabolite, which could have only resulted from the mother's consumption during pregnancy, but her own test was negative. So yeah, how did the baby get it? Well, I don't know. Chances are one of those tests was a false positive or a false negative, but they never confirmed the tests. Mother's hair test showed high levels of coke and benzos. She denied use and a second sample was tested. It showed no cocaine or benzos. So that was just flat out got it wrong. Oh, here we go. You're going to watch the self-defense mechanisms kick in. So, but they're doctors. You got to trust the doctors. They're the frontline workers. They have our best interest at heart. Do no harm. When questioned about anomalies like the ones I just read you, laboratory staff almost always offered some explanation that avoided casting doubt on the laboratory's own results. Sometimes they called into question other clinics' practices. Laboratory staff did, however, acknowledge the limitations of their test results for alcohol in a few letters and transcripts of testimony. In one case, the manager cautioned the court that toxicology evidence should not be used in isolation. The issue should be considered in light of other evidence. How about that? There was no such acknowledgement of the limitations for drugs. In some cases, the manager stated that he could not comment on parenting capacity, particularly when pressed. However, he also occasionally expressed opinions about home environments based on test results. In fact, he said, during drug concentration levels in children's hair indicated they were living in drug houses. That's just madness. If there's any indication of drug, that means they're living in crack houses. Like, what the hell? And yeah, they were covering their ass. This is there's a great post by Whisper about kayfabe, which, and I know you guys have heard me talk about it a lot. Let me see if I can. Actually, you know what? Let me put that up on a different one. I don't want to lose this. This one. I think this is the one I'm looking for. Here it is. Okay, I'll put this in the chat because I think you guys need to see this. Oh, wrong one. Kayfabe. The idea of presenting theater as if it was real. And I think this is the one where he talks about software developers. Yeah, kayfabe is how Hollywood, and they were talking about Harvey Weinstein, how he was like basically sleeping with all these sociopaths who were doing, I'll do anything for the part, sir. Kayfabe is how Hollywood makes its money. It's why no one said anything about Harvey for decades, and it's why they're calling him a rapist now. Their fake kayfabe is a collectively sustained illusion that Hollywood stars are prettier, more exciting, more interesting, larger-than-life people who are special. If you believe this, you'll pay more money to see and hear them and talk about them. But what's the reality it hides? They're just a bunch of theater nerds who have been selected for above-average looks and gave Harvey the best hand job. And they have experts in makeup in that. So the kayfabe in this is literally trust the science. Even though the guys who are in charge of doing the science were deceptive at best and outright malicious at worst. Like, that's not a medical opinion. Well, typically when kids have a little bit of like coke residue in their hair, they're from crack houses. Meanwhile, do you guys remember that story where out of all the money in circulation in the US, like 90% of it has trace amounts of cocaine on it? Andrea Rodolfo Nadia, 10 euro super chat. Oh dear God, just got my vasectomy last Monday. No big words of wisdom, but so far the girlfriend is happy she can stop the pill. We'll see if it works all the way or just changes the color of our future baby. What did I say, man? 10 euro super chats provide some fucking wisdom. Dude, I should almost make a tweet on that. Well, I got this vasectomy. We weren't supposed to have kids, but it turns out it just makes the kids have curlier hair and darker skin. Congratulations, though. I'm glad. By the way, another MGTOW talking point when they talk about these things is like, as soon as you get a vasectomy, your girl's going to leave you. And I mean, if she wants kids, probably. But a lot of girls don't. Or maybe you're done having kids or whatever reason. It's like, there's no limbic brain thing that's all of a sudden, it's like, I can tell there's no swimmers in there. I'm going to leave him. But I mean, you always get that one example of like, oh, well, she made him get a vasectomy and then she left him right afterwards. That's the one example. I've never seen a second example. If there was, they would use it. What I mostly see is shit like this. Now she can get off the pill. Now her hormones are right. She'll probably lose 10 pounds of water weight because she's no longer on the pill. She probably gets more horny because she's not simulating being pregnant. And she's probably a lot less panicky. Thank God for that. Oh, yeah. I remember before, who was it? Was it Sam? I don't remember who was talking about the money of this. Cost of the testing. $150 for one test. $175 for the other. $75 for cocaine. $50 for meth. MDMA is $50 for opiates. Like, these are 26,000 times one. Let me do calculator again. 24,000 times, I don't know, we'll do 150. $3.6 million. How cheaply we put the lives of 20-some thousand kids. 20,000 kids? We'll fuck them over for $3.5 million. That's a pretty good rate. I guess you got to do the lowest bidder, right? That's like military style. Oh, damn. It even gets worse. An invoice for $700 for all of these tests. So it turns out every drug has a different test, and that's why they're doing. It's definitely an incentive. I'm not saying, well, just make that money. It's like, well, you know what? Better safe than sorry. I get it. Dad may have had a drinking problem 5 years ago, but we got to check for barbiturates. We got to check for coke. We have to check for meth. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Why don't you check for OxyContin? Oh, no, not that one. Let's check all the other stuff. Why wouldn't you check for that one? It's because we're prescribing it. All right, whatever. Another takeaway for you, by the way, the people that got it the worst were the people that had no idea what rights they had in the situation. So, like, be informed. Be informed. Now, yeah, without a court order, consent must be free and informed. And I'm going to get to that. That's going to be what the second part of this thing is. So anyways. There's one more thing I wanted to show. Oh, there it is. The courts often drew negative inference about parents who did not go for testing or disputed the results. Parents who refused to go or failed to go after agreeing to were almost always presumed to be hiding drug use. Guilty until proven innocent. This was even true in the few cases where parents asked for time to consult with their lawyers first. In one case we reviewed, the cast worker told a father that failure to attend for testing would result in an automatic positive result. In another case, a worker documented her threat to ask the court to draw a negative inference about the father if he refused to go for testing. In several cases, we read transcripts where judges stated that they were drawing negative inferences about parents for the same reason. Isn't that fucked up? Literally guilty until proven innocent. Guilty until proven innocent. And in that case, yeah, you notice that there was a lot of fathers in that one. Sam Whiskey, $5 super... Oh, shit. $5 super chat. I'm fucked. A 19th century Prussian cavalry officer never worried about his kids being Ukrained while he went off to war. Your kids belong to the state. Well, the kids belong to wife. Mustang, I'm reading the Motherisk Commission, because that's a whole episode here is going to be talking about the legal aspects of this. I should probably pin this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put them both together and then pin into the top. So if you're watching this after the fact, you'll see it in the pin message, the links to both of these things. So that was the last point on this one. Look at that. You guys want to talk about the injustice for men? And you're like, oh, you red pill guys think you just sprinkle alpha on all your problems. It's like, no. We fucking get it. Rollo may talk about the hypergamous best option and always like very 10,000 foot level. But if you get into the weeds, you'll see shit like this. And the beauty of getting into the weeds is now you can have a strategy. You can navigate this. Again, the MRAs are all about, we need to change the laws. It's been 26 fucking years, dudes. You've been building awareness. And no offense to her, I actually kind of like her. But sucking girl rights, what's dick for like 20 some years? Not one advancement on here. What did it take? It took a bunch of women bitching and then be like, oh, we got to help the moms, these poor mothers. And then they started making headroad. Yeah, you don't want to end up in these situations. Hell is what it is. Good Lord. And that's the thing. And I'm not here to just like fearmonger you, because there's ways out of this. One, obviously not rushing into marriage and families is a good idea. You shouldn't be 23 going, I just want to find a family. Like, take your time, man. When you want to be smart enough, you want to have some experience, you want to wait till your 30s, even 40s if you want to. Well, my ovaries are, yeah, you're a guy. Your ovaries are fine. You're going to have plenty of eggs in your 40s. Trust me. Or don't trust me, whatever. Am I lying to you? How do you know? Do I really believe it? Am I that kind of a manufactured consent guy? There's that there. There's understanding a realistic level of risk. Calibration. Remember, we always talk about calibration. This is case of calibration. What are the odds that this girl's going to cheat on me at some point? Well, they're usually pretty low. But if she's given you reason to suspect, about a 30% chance you're being right. Now, 30 is not 100%, but it's not 1%. So an adequate level of concern over the situation. Does she consistently put you in that stuff? Did the pregnancy happen within a week of some Cancun foam party trip that you and her divorced friends and her were going on? I mean, do the math. 1 in 3. But you're like, I don't know. Keep stacking those odds, right? Take everything in context. Calibrate. And then in the cases where you're in this one, you know what these situations are going to be like. You know during a divorce that mom's going to be throwing all kinds of shit against the wall to see what sticks. There's no legal remedy against a lot of this stuff, and the legal precedents are set, and it's guilty until proven innocent. You get it. So again, you go to war. This person is not your friend. They're going to weaponize everything they got against you, and they got a huge advantage. So yeah, act accordingly. You can be vindictive as a prick, and you can be like, well, it's the mother of the kids, I don't want to screw over. That's fine. Benevolence comes at the tail end of strength. So you need to get to a point where the mom is so worried about losing this thing that your reasonable demands, just be a normal mom, I'll be a normal dad, we'll live in separate houses, stop fucking over the kids. Carries over, right? So that's the thing to get from it. Now do your own jurisdiction. So the second thing here, and this is going to be, hold up a sec. A judicial ruling. Wow, a judicial ruling. This is so much excitement. Why can't we just talk about women not being shit or the fucking Ukraine? Because I'm fucking red-pilled, dudes. You don't want to hear my goddamn opinion on the Ukraine. Trust me. Where's my stupid thing? Oh, there it is. What time are we on? 54:59. So literally 1 hour. Now I haven't gone full hog on this one yet, so there might be some surprises in here. I've had a chance to research it well, but not perfectly. Ontario Superior Court of Justice. The two people here, what's the thing? What are the names again? That doesn't really matter. Boy and girl and kids. Here's the part that's interesting. Dad wants to vaccinate the kids. Mom does not want to vaccinate the kids. Mom has a whole bunch of research and scientific replication and all this shit, and dad has the same thing. What do you do in these situations? And you know what? If you want to think about this in a more what's the word for it? Clickbaity way. Remember the Jack Murphy thing when the kids not want to get vaccinated, or he didn't want to vaccinate the kids, but mom did, and he wanted to go play baseball with them, and she's like, "Go fuck yourself. I'm vaccinating the kids, and there's nothing you can do to stop me." Tim Pool starts calling him a bastard, and he's like, "You son of a bitch." The judge actually brought up a pretty good point. Like, when did it become illegal to ask questions, especially in the courtroom? When did it become unfashionable for judges to receive answers, especially when kids' lives are at stake? How did we lower our guard and let unacceptable beliefs get paired together in a democracy? It's absolutely crazy. I would suggest giving this a read, right? But what does any of this have to do with family court? Sadly, this days it has everything to do with it. So here's the gist of it. Father, 2 kids, 12 and 10, wants them vaccinated. Mom doesn't want it. Now, answer honestly, did the previous paragraph give you enough information to form an opinion about how the case should turn out? A lot of people are saying it should. You have to decide on each individual basis. Now, here's the initial part. So the father had 2 affidavits. The mother had 1. We should vaccinate him for this. We shouldn't for this. Send it to the court. They both relied extensively on unsworn exhibits, which were basically internet downloads. Internet downloads. Here, Alex Jones said this. Well, Sam Harris said this. Well, fuck that. I guess we're at where we're at. The father relied on numerous downloads from the mother's social media accounts. Character assassinations. I'd almost swear, by the way, this is like that typical Redditor behavior where they swap the genders on something and like all of a sudden to see how people's opinion changes because, we prefer women. It's so weird. But I mean, it's official. It literally is the guy acting like a bitch here and the girl acting like a dude. But anyway, whatever. And they both let the courts, yeah, you check my social media. You check my social. They both said this. Yeah, check it. You're going to see how he's an asshole and I'm right. That's how everybody believes in this stuff. And they're like in their mid-30s. Basic facts, not disputed. So where was the part that they got to it? Interesting thing here. So in the mother's evidence focused entirely on medical and scientific issues, on like hesitancy over vaccinations. Contrast, the father focused extensively on labeling and discrediting the mother as a person in a dismissive attempt to argue that her views aren't worthy of consideration. The odious trend is rapidly corrupting modern social discourse. Ridicule and stigmatize your opponent as a person rather than dealing with the ideas they want to talk about. Seems to be working for politicians, but is this something we want to tolerate? Fun fact. Red pill guys, as smart or smarter than me, called this. Is pointless. I'm going to send you guys are going to love this. There it is. All right, give me my chummy. Why debate is pointless. And you're seeing, it's just male and female dynamics. It's whatever. It's just some nerds on the internet here. You're seeing this all the way up into the legislative corporate bench. Child custody. All these goofy red pill guys, turns out this shit's useful. Who'd have thunk? Here's the thing here. So he kind of goes. Oh, wait, this is the wrong one. It's actually one he used as a reference to this one. So let me pull that up. Where's my stupid chummies? There they are. Come on. Purple pill debate. Why didn't you pull up all these links beforehand? Because we go where we go. It's crying out loud. Don't be mad at me. There we go. Now, where is the depth hub? There. Oh, get fucking. There she is. Why purple pill debate is ultimately useless. And this, it sounds like, oh, just some goofy internet forum shit, right? No. Nope. This is exactly what we're talking about here. You're going to love this shit. Look at this. 7 years ago. We fucking called this shit 7 years ago. You're expecting me to say nobody will ever change anybody's mind, but the issue runs deeper than that. Blue pill and red pill end up talking past each other because they cannot even agree what they're debating about. The set of values they hold are completely disjointed. They can't even agree on what a debate is and what the goals of a debate are. Red pill people generally bring the following assumptions. We believe there is one reality, and that truth is what accurately describes that reality. The better a statement is, the better it defines reality, the more true it is. That's factual absolution. Whether something is good or bad is a matter of opinion, and that all systems of morality are things that society has invented to get a result. Therefore, it's pointless to argue whether something is good or evil or good or bad, right or evil. It's about what effect it has. They're moral relativists. And they believe the goal of a debate is to establish what the facts are and how this knowledge can be used to control outcomes. They argue about what is true. And they believe debates are a cooperative process, even if they are argumentative, between two or more people who have a shared goal of achieving a more accurate picture of absolute reality. And that while they may stick vehemently to their positions, they can also reverse them on a dime if new information comes to light, because the only attachment is to the truth. They believe debates occur between ideas and theories, not people. Thus, questioning somebody's character is off limits because it's irrelevant. On the other hand, blue pill people generally bring the following assumptions. Reality is subjective, and that what is true or not is simply a matter of who you ask. What's called truth is merely a codification of somebody's perspective, and that is therefore pointless to argue about what is true. They are factual relativists. Flip down the opposite, right? Oh, absolutely, Rolo. He's talking about here about this defines the conflict. But yeah, you're saying it's just like guys talking about their dicks and their wives. It's like, no, man. I'm showing you how this is playing out in a court case where mom and dad desperately want to either vaccinate their kids or not vaccinate. One parent is putting their kid in danger, and you don't know which one. And now they're having this exact same red pill, blue pill argument. Something to think about. Anyways, they believe there's one set of moral laws, which you can have gradually discovered in a historical climb towards ethical perfection. Certain people are better or worse based not only on what they do, but what they believe. They believe that different ethical systems exist, but they can be ranked from worst to best. One absolute set of ethics that underlies reality. They are moral absolutionists. They believe the goal of a debate is to establish which is morally better and what everybody should do. They argue about what is right, not what is true. Now, they believe that debates are a competitive process between two people who have the end goal of establishing their views of right and wrong by attaining a state of moral ascendancy over the other person. They believe that anybody who changes their views is revealing a flaw in their moral character because the previous views were not morally correct, and therefore must relinquish their high ground and submit their actions to the moral judgment of others, usually the person who wins the debate. They believe debates occur between people, not ideas, for the purpose of establishing who should be allowed to set standards because they are morally superior. Thus, questioning somebody's character is not only relevant, but that's the whole goddamn point. Now that you guys know all that, I've basically given you extreme difference here as to what I mean when you're like, oh, red pill, once you take the pill, you can't go back. You know all those memes? Now that I see it, I can't go back. And now I've taken the pill, I see the world a whole new way. That's in specific what's changing here. You're changing from a mental framework, a set of mental models that are morally objective, factually, or morally subjective, factually objective, and the purpose of argument or debate or conversation or anything is to discover the best case of truth and facts you can in order to affect better outcomes. But the outcomes are the key point there, as opposed to the way it used to be, where it was always about, my truth. Whatever I think is true is just a codification of my beliefs. But morally, there's good and there's bad, and you're on the scale, and that's it. And the whole point of the debate is to slander everybody around you until you find out that you're the best person. I'm the nicest. I am a mother. Like, that's where that argument comes from. And then once you get all that together, you're like, hey, these guys are all dicks. I'm the morally good person, so I'm telling you which way truth goes. And that's why you can't red pill your friends. And that's why you can't argue with women. And that's why you'll never convince anybody of anything else. You're basically trying to tell them the moon is made out of cheese. And I've always joked saying, if I tell the guy the moon is made out of cheese and he goes to the gym 3 days a week because of that, then it's achieved its goal. Again, outcomes. If you tell this blue-pilled person the moon's made of cheese, and they're like, how could you say that? You're a misogynist. They don't go to the gym. Instead, what they do is they get you fired from your job. Each argument, my side, their side, everybody considers it a win. But where one side was worried about the arguments, the other side was worried about being a good person. And in this case, the dad is the blue-pilled one, and the mother's red-pilled in this situation. It's crazy, isn't it? And the judge, a female judge, is like, yeah, I kind of see it. Like I said, I'm still amazed that the genders aren't the opposite on this one. That would make sense to me, but I don't know. I guess based divorced mom is based. So I'm aware the applicant has political affiliations with the People's Party of Canada. The applicant is entitled to her personal beliefs and ideologies, but I'm very fearful that having a direct negative impact on the children, especially when it comes to vaccines. What does that sound like to you? Does that sound like moral relativism or moral objectivism? Does that sound like the purpose of this argument is to find the correct group of facts to make better outcomes? Or does that sound like the purpose of this argument is to establish themselves as on the moral high ground so they can dictate things to the loser of this competition? Does that sound collaborative or cooperative or argumentative or confrontational? So now you understand when you see people arguing like this, you will know what they're doing. And here's the problem that a lot of guys have is that in this case too, and I think the moms have in this case, but it's a court of law, so it's a bit different. When people see a statement like that, they're like, well, this means I just got to give them more facts. If they just understood the position, they would make the proper choices. They don't give a shit. Your truth, like your attempt to search for factual objectivism, is not even on the radar because you are a misogynist. If you guys don't know, by the way, the People's Party of Canada is a party from Maxime Bernier. He was a former housing minister for Stephen Harper, the Conservative Party of Canada. And then since the Conservatives, as he said, the Conservatives went woke, they're basically like liberal lights. He's like, I'm going to go back to like 90s conservatism in Canada. And he made a party. It's called the People's Party of Canada, which horrible name. It's got very Maoist names to it, but he's basically old school conservatives. And he is now portrayed as Nazi incarnate. This horrible guy is the worst thing ever. And like since 10 years ago when he was in the cabinet and everybody was fine with it. It's like, whatever. But that's the point. They don't care if that's true or not. They need to establish this. But that's the whole reason of adding this. I searched the applicant's Facebook postings, alarmed to see just how involved the applicant is perpetuating COVID-related conspiracy theories and vaccine hesitancy. She's not giving the right opinions. Did you see that? Not giving the right opinions. There can be only one. Oh, we're having the rational male battle in the thing here. That's awesome. He attaches the COVID. But anyway, so there's like up to K, like 12 examples here of basically character attacks. I'm alarmed the children are exposed to these views. Anti-vaccination stance is more severe than a regular concerned parent. He attaches a Facebook posting of the mom not wearing a mask. Makes references to her Facebook account. Attaches photographs of Maxime Bernier addressing the audience. Like, what the hell? You're in a court case talking about your kid's vaccination status, and what are you doing? This is Hitler. Let's put that in the dossier. I exhibit K. This guy's an asshole, and she likes him. Fuck that bitch. And the judge actually is kind of based here. Where to begin? How is any of this fucking relevant? Like, when a judge is like, how is any of this nonsense relevant to the case? Have we reached the stage where parental rights are going to be decided based on whose political party you belong to? Like I said, she kind of gets it, but she doesn't get it. She doesn't get exactly what we've been talking about here. And that's because, like, she's not... I'm the kind of nerd that looks into this shit, right? Is being seen with Maxime Bernier the kiss of death? I mean, if you ask the right person. Can you just simply utter the words conspiracy theorist and then do a mic drop? Which, by the way, I love how this is in a judicial ruling. Are you allowed just to call him a conspiracy theorist and just drop the mic? Like, that's funny. By my judicial memeing here, I would suggest this is more of a Pepe. Anyways, and really, how fine is the line between vaccine hesitancy and not taking chances with your kid? All the case law says judges have to act with the utmost caution and consider all relevant evidence and concerns. So how can we impose a lesser standard on a demonstrably excellent parent? It's crazy, isn't it? Okay, here's the next part. So, like, and they make the case, I guess mom talks with the kids and dad talks with the kids, and if you ask the kids are on mom's side. My chance of dying from COVID is like -0%, so whatever. I'm not going to get the vaccine. I've heard about people getting mitochondria. I'll survive COVID, so I'm fine without the vaccine. And then dad's like, yeah, but they're kids. They can't decide for themselves. Which is fucked, by the way, because in a divorce, and back to the other case here, in a divorce, where the kids want to live factors in. Like, if you're 13, yeah, mom might get legal custody of the kids. But if the kids think mom's a bitch, and they think dad is a great dad, and I actually have a better thing, and my schoolwork goes well, they'll go live with dad. A lot of parents think about this. I need custody. Well, you don't need custody. You just need your kids to see you as the better parent and have, like, a good experience with you, and they'll come to stay with you. Like, it's fine. No, if you're actually just paying less child support, then yeah, granted, fuck that custody bitch. Can't believe he's swearing so much. Can you believe this? Well, and to be fair, Rollo's in the chat here. What's more pathetic is he's talking about the Rollo in the chat. If you guys don't know, there's this guy who keeps, like, shitting up the chat, and the mods are doing a great job keeping him out, thank God. I will say this, though. He watches this show religiously. Every minute, every episode, and he's bringing up all the commenting stats. So as much as the guy's a dork, he's putting in the work. And I do want to give him credit there. Thank you, sir. Thank you for bringing up my watch time. It just sucks how you're ruining everybody else's experience, and we can't seem to ban you. It's too bad YouTube won't answer my calls. I would like to find out how that's happening. Anyway, so they do some things here where, like, they use some former case law to find out what, like, a criteria are. And it turns out mom meets all of them. Turns out you can be a good parent and vaccine hesitant. Who'da thunk? This is the part that it really matters. So you can tell in this case, the judge is following a more red-pilled thing. You know, factual absolutism. Truth is objective. Morality is subjective. And the whole point here is to find a more, like, which has better outcomes. So the judge is actually red-pilled in this case. Female judge is red-pilled? It turns out we don't have a stranglehold on paying the fuck attention. Sorry, guys. It turns out the He-Man Woman Haters Club is everywhere. It just, we codified it differently. But imagine if this was like some woke judge. started attaching on this other stuff. I mean, you might be able to win it, but that's the point here. It's almost at the point where you have to find somebody who's got that factual objectivity in order to get anything done. As soon as you get more of these woke people in positions, these arguments start getting switched over, and those character assassinations start having more weight. That was one of the big reasons why during the trucker convoy, the Senate hearing, I was really 20 hours of Senate hearings. Like, I can't believe I'm that guy watching 20 hours of C-SPAN in 2 days. I almost died. At the end of it, I just stared at the wall and I'm like, I hate this place. Why did you make me do this? But yeah, you watched a lot of like, there was like 3 or 4 woke senators, and they were just talking about Black Lives Matter and racism the whole time. And we're going to vote for more powers for the state. And then you watch like the red-pilled senators, and they were like, does this fit the law? That's kind of our job. But it was interesting. All right. So the determination of any child's best interest is a fact-specific exercise based on the evidence presented and tested in each case. As stated, an important but not determinative result of the analysis considers each child's views and preferences. In each case of the recent cases where the child's state of opinions of being vaccinated was overridden, the court made unfavorable findings with result to the objecting parent's rationale and inappropriate influence over the child. The court concluded that the pro-vaccine parent had presented more reasonable information to the child and the more compelling arguments to the court in relation to the science. In each case, the court was left with more confidence in the pro-vaccine parent's judgment and insight on the issues. And then she's like, that's not what I'm dealing with in this case. Despite the father's relentless campaign to dismiss the mother as some sort of lunatic, the reality is that the mother presented all the evidence and made all of her oral submissions in a calm, mature, articulate, analytical, researched, and child-focused manner. She is to be commended for her skillful and professional representation as a self-represented party. Did her own case. Look at that. In contrast, the father came across as dogmatic, intolerant, and paternalistic. He focused more on discrediting the mother's ideas than on explaining his own, and his shameless efforts to vilify mom by ridiculing her personal beliefs bordered on hysterical. Ooh, cup of coffee's coming. I mention this to further explain why I have confidence in the mother has not appropriately influenced the children to adopt their current views. Now, if the mother explained herself to the children in the way she explained herself to me, and if the father did the same, I have absolutely no doubt which one of the parents communicated with the children in a more respectable manner. And I know this is like armchair quarterbacking, but I have to ask myself, had the genders been reversed on this, if it was dad with the vaccine hesitancy being rational and calm and that, and if it had been mom with the hyperbaric or hyperbolic, like he's an asshole speech, how would differently this have gone? I'll give you a little story as an example here. So for example, when I was in the military, there's this thing now, we never used to have it. It's called quality of life, QOL. Mission first, people always. That was the I mean, it was kind of bullshit, but turns out in the 1990s, they finally allowed women on top into HMCS warships. What ended up happening is women didn't want to go on warships because they got fucked over quality of life. Guys were like, hey, my child is being born. Can I show up? And the command team's like, nope, we got to sail and do a TJEX exercise in March, and we need you. Or in October, sorry. It's always October. Anybody in the sailing on the West Coast should know this. Guys like, hey, I'm getting married. I took some time off. They're like, nope, we got to do a day sail. Guys were getting screwed over out of so much stuff. Hey, my wife is divorcing me. Do you mind if I show up to the divorce hearing so I can have my kids? They're like, nope, mission first. Turns out women didn't put up with that shit. Women started complaining. And then because the Navy wanted more women, they started inventing this thing called quality of life. They switched from having hammocks in your mess to actual beds. They switched from no time off ever, regardless of the sailing schedule, to, well, you know what? Maybe it's good that you show up to the birth of your child, you know? And all kinds of like quality of life improvements like this. Hey, we're going to put a gym in there so you don't end up being fat and lazy and get a heart attack. It ended up having a case where everybody benefited, but it was only looked at once it affected women. So while I know like the tragedies happen, women most affected thing, it's a bit of a meme right now, and it's kind of pointing out that everybody kind of prefers women over men, and we won't hear about problems until it affects women. There's some benefits for guys too. Usually once girls start clawing away some, getting some extra, you're going to get some extra too. So if anything, you should kind of take a more of an accelerationist point here. I want more soy dudes out there doing this vaccine Hillary Clinton speech. I want judges to look at these rational, reasonable, red-pilled women doing shit. I hate to say it, and it's very MRA of me to say, but like, yeah, you need these girl cheerleaders because nobody will listen until it's a girl complaining it happens to them. Like, I have a feeling alimony is going to disappear in the next 10 years after enough women end up having to pay it. I still miss this. Darla 10. She was one of the few people in Purple Pill debate that I actually really respected. And she was a New York fashion designer, that kind of thing. Good money. Dating a husband, got married, had a family. As soon as they got married, husband stopped working because wifey was running $200,000 a year. I don't want to work anymore. We don't have to, and you can't make me. So they ended up getting divorced. You know, nobody wants a deadbeat guy. Had to pay him alimony. You want to know what'll red pill a chick? Like really red pill? Not, no offense to her, Torsia red pill. But like red pill? Yeah. Treat her like a man. That'll red pill her fast. She was awesome. And then she ended up with a dating coach, a female dating coach. And it was the funniest thing. She's like, you know what the coach told me? Stop talking about your fucking job. Be pleasant. Be kind. And just be like a chick. She ended up with her new husband. It was some divorced guy with kids. They did like a Brady Bunch thing. So now 2 kids, second marriage. He was like some 6'2" New York firefighter. And she's like, it's great. I got Chad at home all the time. So it's interesting to see that even women can benefit from like the red pill in that way. But yeah, but once it started affecting her, that's okay, now I give a shit. Let's talk about this red pill thing. And it's weird in that I would take the opinion and advice of, I think she was like 47, a 47-year-old chick from New York over the take of 500,000 MGTOW 42069 talking about women in the abstract types. Because at least she's got boots on the ground. I wonder if I should get her on the show. I should work on that. They're talking about the different types of evidence. You can read through these if you want, 46 and 47. Not really important. Let me see. Where was the next point I had on here? This is mostly just going through the evidence piece by piece, showing that, and then those are the findings that, like, yeah, that's reasonable, well-researched, none of this stuff's ridiculous. The guy's stuff was mostly about pointing to authority, saying, yes, this is good. The girl's stuff was mostly pointing to the evidence, saying, this is proven to this is proven to that, and you make your own inferences from it. Again, who's the moral authority versus what facts are more applicable to come out with a better outcome, right? I guess we can talk about the delegation bit here. It's like with all these vaccines, the father asked for an order to receive the current vaccine and all recommended boosters. He's like, which recommended boosters? When? How many? What will they contain? Who will decide? Will there be any opportunity for future judicial oversight, or is this a forever commitment controlled by the government? They're making the case, if you can't take judicial notice of the present, you can't take judicial notice of the future. Saying, basically, if you're making me ignore all of this science, all this research from mom's side of things for today to make a determination, and then you're telling me I have to use insight to allow future recommendations. Like, if you can't let me judge the science based on today, you can't ask me to decide on the decisions of tomorrow, because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. Science is based on doubt. Oh, this one, I like this one. Number 70 here. So there's a systematic issue common to most of these COVID vaccine cases. A, the father presented his expert evidence. B, the mother then presented her expert evidence. And C, the father responded to the mother's theories that have already been debunked, so we shouldn't waste time talking about them. D, alleging that your opponent's position has already been debunked, is a common tactic these days and quite effective. Because, unlike decisis, am I pronouncing it? I suck with Latin. Let me, hold on a second here. I'll pull that up. Decisis. Let the decision stand, reverse the doctrine of the precedent according to which rules formulated by judges and early. Basically, if a judge decided beforehand, we're going to use that. Common law. Why do they just say common law? Decisis, fucking guys. There is no such formality to the concept of debunking. In other words, somebody just made that shit up. And no judges created a debunking thing in the history of jurisprudence over the last 10,000 years. So, yeah, you're just talking gobbledygook, sir. All you have to do is make the blanket assertion that the views have been debunked, don't provide any details, and hope that nobody asks you for proof. Well, if you're the moral arbiter of truth, then who would ask you? And so as in this case, I reject the father's claim. Everything's been considered and disproven, a process adhering to natural justice conducted by... Basically, who the fuck are you? I got these entire library full of books and legal proceedings, and not one of them has said this shit. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to think? You base judge. Okay, so let's go back. We're going to hit the end up here, and then we're going to do some chit-chat for the last 15 minutes. All right. Oh, here it is. The last little bits here. He goes after 80. Oh, here we go. So yeah, it's not the kind of case where the court can say either side is necessarily correct, nor that the same determination should apply for every child no matter the circumstances. In other words, it's a gray area, and there's a lot of unknowns, and there's no certainty, so how do the courts proceed? And he's like, and the judge is like, I'm not prepared to make a ruling on something when I don't have enough information to make a true ruling, because she's aware if I make this ruling now based on a lack of evidence, then in the future, other judges are going to do the same. Again, shit rolls downhill. So, dismiss the father's notion. The mother gets sole decision-making authority. And if any of the costs need to be addressed, we'll sort it out later. Interesting, right? Interesting. So let's get rid of the chat thing here. Let's go back to normal. So what is the point of all of this stuff? Let me make conclusion. Where's my live stream, chummy? There it is. 131. You have made me, Ryan, listen to a Motherisk Commission and a judicial ruling for the last hour and a half. The fuck is wrong with you? I just came on here, women aren't shit, and to kick one off of your fucking podcast after drinking a White Claw. Why would you do this to me? Because I want you guys to learn. I mean, I don't care if you do, but that's the whole point of this. If you're not learning from this, what the fuck's the point? Understand a couple key concepts here. One, nobody cares about the plight of men. People only give a shit about things that affects women. Two, that's not a bug, that's a feature. If we were raised and genetically passed down to believe that men and women were equal, we'd have died off because we put them in equal balance. And guys are hunters, guys are more useful, that's great. Instead, what you have to do is value women over men, because then you have enough women to keep a tribe going. If you lose, if you're down to 10% of the women in your tribe, you're basically dead. Generation or two, you're done. If you lose all but 10% of the men in your tribe, you can still, you can keep the process going, as long as you have enough women birthing kids. So, you have to defend women better. Of course, that was in the age of scarcity. Now we're in the age of abundance, where it doesn't really matter. So we're kind of having to adopt a new set of models, where the equality thing kind of makes sense now. Because there's 8 billion chicks. At this point, we're good. Or 4 billion chicks. So if we lose a billion of them, we're still fine. Unfortunately, we still have those old limbic brain things to say, value women. And it's causing all kinds of weird shit. But it's a silver lining with that. As people keep pushing for this equality, women are going to start getting exactly what they asked for. In this case, dad's taking him to court, calling her a conspiracy theorist and an alt-right Nazi. Then, that whole preference for women thing kicks in, and all of a sudden, everybody cares about objective truth. Because why? Well, because they took mom's kids based on a cocaine test that's not reliable. Well, because the dad called her a Nazi. Well, all of a sudden now the law and the facts matter. That's awesome. If anything, accelerationist. I want more moms. More moms to be fucked over by the system, because that's how the system's going to change. Not because guys are trying to be... Paul Elam ain't going to do shit. Paul Elam ain't going to do shit. Now, is that kind of shitty? That doesn't help you. That's more of a grand process thing. So and then the points to take away for you is to understand these dynamics. The courts will prefer women. And you're going to be able to tell the difference between that blue-pilled argument and a red-pilled argument. So if you're in a court case and they're just trying to attack your morality, you keep it on the facts. You keep it on the objective truth. And you point out this discrepancy to try and get the courts to go on your side, because that's the way they should function. And if they're not functioning that way, sometimes you have to play dirty. Maybe you have to throw some character attacks. Maybe you got to show... that's the one thing that's kind of interesting. How much Trudeau blackface there is out there. Which, there was a cartoon which was funny where they were talking about Ukraine and he's dressed in a suit with a blackface on, and I was like, oh man, he's never going to live that down. That's his Jack Murphy moment, But yeah, so you got these information together. Now there's an infinite amount of scenarios that could happen. You know, you're dating a girl, everything goes well, she's always your hypergamous best option, and nothing ever happens. Great. All this stuff, keep it in the back of your mind. If it comes up, it comes up. Maybe she went to Vegas with her friends, came back. By the way, I'm pregnant. I got pregnant the day before we left when we smashed. And you're like, oh, that's great. Now you're thinking in your head, oh, the court's biased against men, the emotional arguments, the 30% rule I was talking about before, what it actually means about is custody yours, the legal ramifications of that, the fact that doctors don't give a shit and they won't tell you unless you specifically ask for it. Maybe you got to get a little bit cold. I need to have certainty. 30% is just not an adequate risk for me. So yeah, we're going to do the test. I'm going to tell her this is why I'm doing the test. She's going to get mad at me, and she's welcome to get mad at me. You're allowed to be mad, but I'm not going to cuck myself. We get this out of the way now and we're done with it. Or you can just fucking leave. I don't care. But that's the point, right? So now you have all these different little mental models. The idea of court cases, the idea of preferring women over men, the idea of not bullshitting yourself, the idea of not being contrarian as a way of being true. Just because you're against the opposing, like against the people you don't like, doesn't mean you're for something any better. Sometimes they make good points. The idea of having something affect women in a way of getting it changed, all these things. You put them all together in a big mishmash, and you forget all of them until something comes up, and then you need them again. And that's what you use your mental model for. What do I do in this situation? Well, you think through the parable that Ryan told you the other day of the court case. The court case and the vaccine Karen. Or the vaccine hesitant Karen. And then you keep that parable in your head, and you're like, how does this guide my actions? And then, yeah, oh, I remember the thing about why debate amongst red pill and blue pill is pointless. Oh, and I remember that about moral objectivism and moral relativism. And then you use these mental models to kind of guide your solutions to something better. And that's the whole point of this. Better ways of encapsulating the world that achieve better outcomes. Now, I just said, yeah, you want truth? Not necessarily. Truth is good, truth is better, but outcomes are what's most important. So in the case where you can think about something as factually true and make a bad outcome choice out of it. Or you can think about something less objectively true, but more objectively good in the outcomes. And the outcomes, like morality, like the good part of it, that's subjective. But that's the point. They're now tools that you use to achieve better outcomes for your life. Because at the end of the day, and I know it's like the cliched thing to say, let me be very clear, or at the end of the day, or any of these other sayings that saying I'm basically about to bullshit you with some fancy words. Realize that as long as you get yours, everything will be fine. Well, that's selfish, isn't it? Yes, it's selfish. Of course it's selfish. And you know what? The people that you give a shit about in life, that selfish is going to spill over into their life. You can't be selfish. You have kids. No, that's exactly why you want to be selfish. You want to be selfish so you have the maximum opportunity to give your kids everything you want to give them. A martyr ain't giving shit. Anyways, let's take a look at the chat. Damn it. Got more fake Rolo than real Rolo. Son of a bitch. Don't eat paint, by the way. Link to that in the description. Let me see what we got going on here. Too few men in this space can continue, but wouldn't get genetic issues more of an issue. Well, here's the Blue Pill's got a good point in this, by the way. Hats and clogs, I see you. 1 second here. Let's get this one point out of the way. Genetic issues. You're like, why does the paternity matter? If you want to be dad, you can be dad. Well, let's say you got kidney problems. Let's say your kid has kidney problems. Finding out you don't have paternity, big fucking deal. Having the kid know who his paternal dad is probably going to be a big deal if he ends up getting kidney damage. Anyways, hats and clogs, $43.34. US $50 super chat. Oh my god, Erd. Poor doggo. The cheese tax. CRP is doing okay. I don't know, everything is going okay. How are you doing, T-Rexes? Yeah. If you guys don't know, my dog just went into surgery. He had to get his teeth done. He had to lose 10 teeth. He's down to 23 out of 43 teeth, I think it is. Posted a video, did a TikTok of watching him stumble about as he's coming out of surgery. He actually did pretty well. He was eating the end of the day. Didn't rip any stitches or anything. Meanwhile, Chomsky, when he had that done, he was bleeding everywhere. He was just out of it. Probably for like a week. Didn't eat anything. Let's get enough women to complain about an issue and advance male causes and your interest through them. Just like corporations, that strategy works well. Yeah, it does, but I'm not going to weaponize Torsha to go bitching about shit to get more red pill clout. I mean, you guys do that if you want to. I'm just going to get mine. Get yours. If fake Rolo would work this hard at a job, he'd be a millionaire. But anyways, thanks you for your concern over the dog, by the way. Bizarro Rolo, good point. Yeah. Anyways, we're going to end this off. Got about 10 minutes here. Rule 0 is on John's channel. I think we're talking about World War III in the Ukraine or something like that in like half an hour. It should be fun times. Let them run their mouths. We'll scare the shit out of you guys. I swear to God, man. You buy my book and you'll be fixed, but I'm going to scare the shit out of you. Ukraine's coming for your children. They're going to eat your family. Don't even worry about it. MLD John. MLD John. So come check it out. It's in half an hour. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. It's a Harlem Globetrotters versus the Washington Capitals. We're going to start dunking with ladders and shit like that. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. Or Tekken. I think you guys need to stop focusing on me. As far as the Rule 0 guys, I am the least prominent member, and I kind of appreciate it that way. I would appreciate if you guys stop giving me any attention. I'm just going to give you quippy one-liners anyway. So anyways, have fun. I'll catch you guys later. Thank you, by the way, for the likes, for the views, for the watch time, for the super chats. None of this would be possible without you guys, especially the likes. Having said that, we actually get more likes on the second channel. If you guys don't know, by the way, there's a second channel. I'll put a link to it in the chat. Ooh, my girl's making more cow soy. That's that soup, that curried soup I was telling you about. I'll give you guys a recipe soon enough. One sec. Digital Ryan. There we go. Oh, and I got to put the links to the thing into a pinned comment here so you guys can see them. That's the other thing I forgot to do. Let me do that now. Where the hell did I put the goddamn thing? Oh, here it is. So that's the link to the second channel. Come check it out. It's like this, but more casual. So don't worry about it. Come in, enjoy yourself. And if I have room, I'll put the Purple Pill Debate one in there too. No, we don't. That's fine. So read this stuff on your own. And like I said, every now and then it's good to take a look at this stuff because it can really help you make your own mind up as to stuff that's in your best interests. So on that note, I'll leave you guys to it. Have fun. I'll check you later. Cheers to fake rational male. You're not quite as good as the real rational male. Having said that, like, you gotta come up with some clever shit, man. Come on. We have short attention spans. I'm reading fucking boring legal decisions. We need you to start cracking some jokes. Talk about the airline food. All right, cheers.